just like an empty piece of nice watercolor paper or a nice piece of canvas after you have primed it with white. Have you ever seen anything so beautiful? An empty canvas. I mean, for me that's so nice. And then you embellish it with your limitations and your you embellish it with your capacity for error. One of these days, artificial intelligences will be carving like that. It will not take a while. It will take a while yet, Paolo, because the first thing that the first medium for carving wood that will be used is the same medium that they use for carving steel and plastics and marble, which means they use a rotary machine. Diba? A rotary machine. It's kind of like, what's a rotary machine? Oh, something like this. This is like some rotary. And it's hard to replicate. It's hard to simulate the cut of the chisel. I'm going to take a risk by putting a bad stroke up. Did you hear that? Wow. And this is a good stroke. Very nice, very comfortable. Like the wood is like saying, oh, you're doing it right. So that's hard to replicate with a machine. But not impossible. I was talking with my daughter, so how will you know that something has been done with the use of artificial intelligence or it has been done with humans? We will know because the human person will commit errors. It will commit profound errors, and some errors absolutely deliberate. Whereas the AI, it will produce everything perfectly all the time because it's a numeric, it's controlled by numbers. It's a numeric shaping machine. And when it's that way, it will always do the thing correctly. Whereas we will commit errors and we will fall in love with those errors. Why? Because we are artists. Because we are rebellious, good-for-nothing artists who like to make mistakes. Diba? And every mistake is a profound mistake. It is one mistake leading you to the next one, leading you one more step forward in a whole narrative composed of limitations and imperfection. And if you're an artist, I don't have to dwell on that. I think you understand that very well already. Otherwise, you will have gone into another discipline that was more exacting, that required you to do the right thing all the time. So, is it time to entertain questions now? You guys want to ask anything at all?
I have one question.
Yes, please.
Regards to the ephemeral nature of your work, what are your plans to preserve the wood box? Or does it matter to you if your work is preserved?
The thing about wood, Christian, is that it gets more beautiful the older it gets. At a certain point, you have to understand that this wood, for instance, has been exposed to termites, exposed to aphids, exposed to fungus over time, and this is what's left with it. So it is in a way, the impervious shell of the wood. So it is not ephemeral by any means, and it does not seek to be ephemeral. It seeks to live a long time. What is ephemeral? It's performance art. And performance art, I love that because it is ephemeral, but it is not wood carving. And the good thing about ephemeral is that you also cannot sell it, because you cannot sell it. It requires a kind of legitimacy, kind of spiritual validity that cannot be competed with. There is a limit to wood, for instance, because like a commodity also, so because I have to sell it if I want to survive. But it's not ephemeral. In fact, most of the pieces that I have here are striving to last a long time. I like especially that piece of metal. That's Passion, Grace, and Fire. It's based on the Latin jazz group. They do flamenco. This is Ali Viola, Villicabam, and Paco de Lucha. They had an album. It was entitled Passion, Grace, and Fire, which when we were young, we used to play a lot all the time, coming Roy, because we love guitar. And because it was almost, they were just jamming, it seemed as if. They had a basic, and then it's Latin jazz and flamenco, but they were like really the best. And so it's sculpture, but it's made of metal, it's made to stay out in the garden, it's made to rust away, except for the stainless steel that's holding it up. And the stainless steel will outlast the thick metal. Now, when the metal has rusted to some extent, it will get more beautiful as it rusts. At a certain point, you might want the future owner that might want to bring it inside the house, so it will not rust again. But that will be so much after my time now. I will have been dead a long time before it will rust that beautifully shaped.
I'm curious how you think about the Bilisaya as a concept. Is it something got to do with geography or some, when you think of the contemporary Bilisaya art, how do you imagine Bilisaya there? I understand you mentioned it's kind of permeable, but how is space part of it, geographical or beyond?
I think it's a bit geographical, but also beyond it, because there's an historical aspect to it change. When I was living in Duman, there were two types of buses that applied the routes. The first was preferred because it was owned by Los Meñas. It was the Cebu Auto Bus. And the other one was owned by the Cuencos, their political enemies, and it was called Bisaya. And nobody liked to ride very few people liked to ride the Bisaya bus. Because it had a tendency to break apart. You had to break apart. Now, where did I first hear the word Bisaya? I heard it from my mom, because when my mother thought of herself, she did not mind thinking of herself as Bisaya. Now, you have to understand though, that at the beginning, Bisaya was a kind of like semi-disparaging word. We kind of like thought of ourselves as Bisaya, and we think of Bisaya as like, sort of ordinary. It's like Bisaya na iro gani. Bisaya na iro, it's like a mongrel. And then it's Bisaya kamote, it's a smaller kamote. And then the Bisaya chicken is like a small chicken compared to the bantris, which is more like the chicken of modern times. And at first we went by that, and then we did not like to think of ourselves as Bisaya, because we thought that we would rather think of ourselves as like, Cebuanos, or Visayan, because that was the English term. And over time, I think I began to shift in my awareness of that. I began to realize certain things about how my way of looking at myself had been tampered with culturally by certain things, by certain colonialist literature. For instance, yawa was a curse where I come from. So my father would go pasting yawa. He was a DIY, not good at it, and he would hit his hand with the hammer, so pasting yawa. And then we were not allowed to say that word, because Yahweh referred to the devil, Dao, and if you spoke the devil's name, then the devil will appear and capture your soul. But when I read William Henry Scott, and I looked at the words that William Henry Scott recorded from when he first interacted with the Bisaya, the word Yahweh actually referred to pagan. It didn't mean devil, it meant just pagan. So pesting yawa is pesting pagan. That means it referred to us. You understand? And they were referring to the old religion as if it was devilish. As you will find out, because there's a lot of researchers coming around that speak like that. So at a certain point, I begin to realize, and I learned that also from the Bisdak movement. They were not afraid to use Bisaya as a word anymore. They were beginning to actively transform that meaning, and I think it's good for us to be able to participate in that transformation, because what imperialist culture did by transforming the word Bisaya that way is actually an active effort to take away our identity. That means if we are not Bisaya, then what are we? You understand? We would have to refer to ourselves as Cebuano, but Cebu is just an island. And Bisaya is all over the Philippines. You would be surprised, as far away as Tawi-Tawi, they still speak Bisaya. Right?
Which is why I'm curious, what are the edges, what forms of edges of the Bisaya to see or to sense? If it is, like, it's a very inclusive, it's a very permeable.
Yes, and especially the Cebuano Bisaya.
Yes.
Especially the Cebuano. And that's the attitude I like about the Cebuano. Because you can come from foreign land, you come here, and then you can be Bisaya by claiming so. But for us, we are Bisaya by birthright. And even if you're Tagalog and you come here, after a while, you begin to realize, oh, I am Bisaya. The Bisaya, they never say to you, oh, you are Tagalog, oh, you are Waray. Because we are all Bisaya, we are all kind of informal, quote-unquote, bad, rebellious, irreverent people who would like to be, and the sense of our imperfection and acceptance of our own imperfection is what distinguishes us. Because most other cultures, they aspire for a sense of perfection, especially when it's Western culture. Europeans not so much, but the Aryan white supremacists, that's the point of what they believe, and that they are better than everyone else because they are more perfect as human beings than those dark people who write Bisaya poetry, which only people will read, quote unquote. And so that's why Bisaya is a useful term. It's a good term to use for ourselves, but it's only a term. It's only like Levi's when you're selling pants, diba? Because you have to think in terms of, if we identify ourselves, if we were to compete in the global market, okay, it's a nice term. It's a useful term, and I believe it will work. And it has the basis to describe us all. And if we were going to, as we should, because we are postmodernists, take away the walls of division that work around us, we might also consider the word contemporaryo kamaturan binuhatan, or Bisaya, contemporaryo binuhatang Bisaya. Diba? Because art is practice. And we should not make a distinction, for instance, between sculpture, painting, and literature, and poetry. Because they all come out of the same well. And it is our right, to define who we truly are. We don't have to be specialized to particular disciplines and all that. We can be whatever we imagine ourselves to be. But
isn't it a bit ironic? Say this,
Tungod lang kay dagan man ang problema o ako ang binisayon that. Nagsuway bitaw ako binisaya niya sa akong klase. Pero ang problema lang, pag sugod na kong binisaya, namay uban dito sa klase ng mga Tagalog at sabot. Unya, di na pag ito'y unay, na ako'y klase, di na ito kahapon, ang niya ako sa Koreano. So, but that's a good point to raise because I've always written literature in English. If I write literature in English, have I lost my right to call myself Bisaya? That's the point, is that I don't think so. Because that is language. That is only language. But at the same time, those of us, mga makasuwat with Bisaya, those of us who know how to write Bisaya, or knows how to write Chinese, or knows how to write Spanish, pag yun. If I came and I knew how to write poetry in Spanish, I would. Because that's how Rizal wrote. That's what No Limitangin and Filibusterismo was written in Spanish. And my theory is that it will annoy the imperialist forces whenever we use their language against them. It annoys them. Okay, so that's why to speak in English may not be a very bad idea.
Just ask.
Yeah, that's a very good question to ask. Very good question to ask because there is a polarity there. At the same time, if you can teach yourself how to write in Bisaya, in Cebuano Bisaya or whatever, in Waray, in Hiligaynon or Ilonggo, you should really do that. But at the same time, we are also competing for validity in the world inside which we live in. And that is also an important issue. Okay? And some of us, in the 60s and 70s, we hated people who go abroad and live in the US or live in New York. Russ is going to live in New York, going to marry somebody there. And then I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that the fact that Russ is in New York means that finally we might have an opportunity to exhibit in New York. If you exhibit in New York, it's kind of like exhibiting in the heart of the enemy, putting your works in the heart of the enemy. Diba? I mean by enemy, I mean historical enemy. I don't dislike Americans. Americans are okay. They're not bad. But we're talking here about history, and history has positions that has to be clearly defined. We cannot compromise with it.
One last question. Regarding your piece there, I know that when we were talking about it at some point, you had an ambition for it to be more than what it is, I think. Because you were saying that if you push the thing, you can create a wave out.
It will go.
And it also a big time to fun again.
I might have been over ambitious that.
Yeah, so are you saying that it's a failure?
I'm saying that it's a failure, and let me explain the failure to you without having to take it apart. Okay, I'm saying it's a failure because I have not done complete research on it yet. When we finished the SOAS, I needed to finish it for this show. We went by way of the tradition of the Western tradition of cylinders and pistons. So we have inside a cylinder, a piston, and a PVC plastic, they call it piston ring, in order to move the air. I did further research and I found out that the original ASOAS did not use that concept. What it did have, it had a cylinder at the beginning, and then instead of piston rings, it had chicken feathers. It had chicken feathers. And the chicken feathers would have a very small coefficient of friction related to the wood. It will move like this, and if it is thick enough, it will capture the air. What it's doing now is that the air is passing from one end of the cylinder going to the next, because our piston ring does not work too well with the intrinsic design. So I'm hoping nobody will buy the Taiho so that I can continue work on it. Because I really want to test the idea, because I did that research at Internet Lab. But I'm thinking that Jay, because Jay likes research, there might be other machines here. Jay, because you know, kaning tayo ba? I saw it being used in the 1970s when I was 1980s pa gani, when I was doing the research for Brazil on Philippine crafts. They were still using hasuhas because ganang electric blowers which replaced tayo that came only. I wonder if you should ever, the next time you go to your contact sa Pardo, di ba? Kung di nila gibutan ng ilang tayo.
Sige, sir.
Because I knew that they had, because I saw it, but their tayo was square. Dili siya circular like that. Dili siya circular. Because the type of technology and the materials that were used at that time, that's very interesting, not only in the sense of art, but in the sense of art having to do with anthropology. And you guys, you're younger, you have the time, and you have the foreknowledge, the knowledge of it. And that's really, I would be interested to read whatever output your research will have where the SUAS is concerned, because I know you're interested. And then I would like also to hopefully to tickle your interest for Carosa.
Yeah.
Diba? Isn't that worth a book?
Yes.
Can we write it together? Will you put a bit of my name there?
There are two beautiful carrozas in the Casa Colorado Community Center, sir. We can start with that, and then we can make a
So you
survey.
can look at also the Carosa sa Baclayan J.
Yeah.
The Carosa that is owned by my mother-in-law's family. Ang ilang moving parts sa ilang by Model T Ford. And then they had an old picture of an old Model T Ford in their album could, and then they were asking us, I asked them before, kasi ito kasi yung Model T Ford, siya, wow, man, sa mahimo o Carosa. Ihimo nila o Carosa, and then I bet you if we go to Bantayan,
Yes, sir.
I'm interested in the other, but the Vestido Saints might be also an interesting thing.
Yeah.
So it's unfinished.
Fine. No, it's finished, but it's finished in the perfect way. It works. The air comes out. The sauce is original. If it doesn't sell, then I have more time to work on it. I'd like to perfect because it works, but it's not perfected. And my theory is that it's not perfected because I'm using Western principles and applying Western principles and something. Minor lang kay because when we did whatever we did, my first concern really was not to do anything that was not reversible. So everything we did with the sauce, it's reversible. We can bring it back to its original. So that's how it goes. And hopefully we will have a bowl that we can have produced from wood. But there's no machine that will actually produce a 10-foot bowl made out of wood so far. They have to adapt the local machines for that effort. Okay, so I hope you guys learned something from this lecture. And much more important than that is that I hope you enjoyed this lecture. And because as much as I enjoyed giving it to you, because it's been like, I don't know, since when, many years since I retired. And I have not lectured for a long time. And I suppose that I do love lecturing. So, somebody was saying about, so what happens, what do I want to do next? Well, I want to do the quantum balud, the quantum mechanics, and I want to develop it as a narrative for doing art. I want you also to consider also about using narratives that way, because narratives, it gives your art a bit of, you have something to draw on, right? I mean, it's so easy, especially if you're doing thesis. Because it's simple. Okay, I'm going to, this is my art, and what does my art refer to? What stories can we draw from this, from the works that I'm doing? And then you expand on those stories and make them longer. It's good for you if you have a focus, you do this. Because art does, last time. Because by being an artist, you actually decide to construct a world for yourself. And because you are a colonized person, it's good for you to be able to dictate the kind of parameters that you want to include into the works. And for me, quantum mechanics is a good field, and I want to continue that, but I'm also thinking very hard about artificial intelligence and how to deal with it, what the world is new. But so I like to read up a little bit more about it. That's what those are the fields that I want to read up a bit more. But I want to keep on carving because carving is so enjoyable for me. And I did not carve enough this afternoon because we were talking. Shane Kara is here. She writes poetry. No, right? And I'm so honored by your presence. Wait.
Ay, mga tingin.
Karoon na ka na. Karoon na ka na.
Mungkin ulit graphics.
Yes, ikaw.
Dili, kay padayon naman sila silang. Sir Ted, musta? Mga hapon, kalimot na kasako ka. Naam ka permis mga performance ko doon sa mga kuan, mga talk. Okay ra akong i-record sir kaya aron nga di ko kalimot.
Kani mali among napalit gikan sa katong namaligyan kahoy dito sa Bohol. Nalibot kay ko kung sa akong himo ni kulito no tanapon ni balerina whatever. Nya nakabantay man kung nalinin kayo ang gusto sa tuwa. So nagunaw gyud ko. Nagyud ay gamit kanang gilingin nila maayo ba. So nagkaunaw na pa kay nakabasa mo ko sa kang William Henry Scott na istorya sa iyang libro na 16th century Philippines about the fact na ang atong mga ancestors tik-tik-tik sila sundag, himo sila ba? Itong mga datot sa una, wala ilang trabaho, himo sila sundag. Kaya gamit man tayo, di ba? Kanang mga magkumaka o maghimo kag barko, maghimo kag balay. So, nag-istorya siya about hasuhas. Kada nga suwas, wala na siya, maghimo sila clay nga kanal, butangan nila na o charcoal, unya dagkutan, unya di na nila bagawon ng puthaw. Now, aron mo paspas ang pagbaga, ilang butangan o device. Tayo ko gamit sa kayo. Tayo, unya mo na siya sa device. Tayo, butangan mo siya.
So theory nimo makini siya tie hook ni siya.
Tayo ko siya.
Sa kaniyang probably yung original nga gamit.
Okay, hindi natin man ang itsura. Nani siya yung cylinder sa sod. Kanya na ibuslog ko rin. Lagi ang mga
Okay.
so, mura ba kayo lang gamit? Kundi ganun.
Diri ang mugawa sa hangin.
Naman yung hangin gawas.
Hindi lang kayo na mo ma-perfect. Kuwangan lang ang pressure sa hangin ba?
Commercial unused naman. Marami siya kuhan kay normally kung ang heat naman siya i-heat mo, di ba?
I-connect mo na nila o kawayan. Palayo mo yun ang minute. Siya art is also anthropology.
Is it meant to be pushed by two people or one?
Usually sa ako nakita na, I don't know sa tradition, but sa ako nakita, lumakang yun na ang magsansan ng putaw. So the two of them, ang usap, tigpupot, unveil ni mo ang magkasan. So the hasuas is here, the area where you have the fire, yan diri ang imong landasan. So, kung sa katao, magpupot sa putaw, kanya may islog, yan ako itiglog-log po, bigatong gatong na ako. That's how they work. And then, pagkabugnaw na, ibalik din na sa kuwan.
Kuhan yan eh, it's always team kuhan siya.
Sa ako nakita, dito sa basak.
Sabi ka na sa sala ng tao buwan. Nakikita
Sa buhol sa albolsan, mga na, dumapot ka po, sansan mo mo tao. O sulat.
I heard, sir, okay lang na i-touch yung sculptures.
Ha?
All your sculptures are okay to i-touch?
Yeah, as long as you touch lightly. Then it's sculpture, man. You think that you don't want the painting to be touched, but it's sculpture, so give up sa namin. In a museum, they won't allow it to be touched, but me, it's not in a museum yet. So,
May nagbilin.
Nagbilin ba rin? Abi na mag-update sa art. At first glance, by tanan naman, marami siya improvised musical instrument. Kaya naman siya spring
Abi pod na ko.
Yeah, you can have spring reverb. Sa reverb, naman yung magkatid.
The wood.
ha?
Where did you get the...
Wala, dito ko sa kanang
Bohol.
yung kahoy. Dito mo na siya, tanawa ko na ni Raymund. Juan, ganahan ka, kulit-kulit yan mo. Unya, pagkanaon ako, naay kahoy niya, naay halos sa suwas, ganaon ako akong kulitan ni old dancer, tinaya, makaharin ko yung wali. Pagkadugay na ko, tanaw ba, pagtanaw na ko sa busto sa tumayo, hindi pa rin kaya siya, so bakit siya gamit mo ang luto.
But you clean. You polish the inside.
No, we left it as much as possible what it, the way it was. Amo ang gikuan daw, gibutangan ng wax. Kaya at first, wala man namo usba. But then later on, among giline o metal na cylinder. So among gibutangan ng lining, but in such a way nga o akong tantang niya. Kaya yun na naman good, sa karaan, we don't do anything that's reversible.
Sir, mao ba ni nga piyesa ang nag-carry sa quantum balud nga narrative or gina-work na nimo sa una pa kato?
In fact, kanina may last na mong gibuhay. Kato may permiro na mong gisugdan.
Naman na ikuan, di ba? Acquired ka of ng certain wood na declared as contraband.
I don't know kung unsay ko na kung siguro kung gikan sa kuan. Nay klase sa aka na magkuno ni.
But how do you kuan kanang bitong more safely obtain this wood like kanang from
Namin maligya din. Pero ako di man ko yung ang kahoy dito mo. I'd rather go to Bohol. May mga karaan na construct
Kabantay ko Paul sa kuan kanang kung gikan gid sa wild, yan putlo na. Ibargo gyud na siya pero kung mga reclaimed na or mga scraps murag pwede na kamo acquire ano. Unsa ni siya nga kahoy dai so?
Tugas.
Ang tugas. Mga students.
We are very inspired by your lecture. Do you want? Thinking
Maswerte sa thesis.
Paswerte.
Approve. This up.
Apil.
Chancy. Yan ka basa ka, experience. Kaya ipang... Okay. And then kita
Thank you.
You have more stuff, sir. Nakapay
I don't know. I think
Okay. Even just a tiny drop, you make a lot.
Unsa to atong i-record? Ikaw siya ang
Siya ang
Chair, pagsud. mo to katong disturbed nga sign.
Nag-video saan?
Pagkuha ng mga sistema, parang they are opening the boards na mga view na lang.
Nakuha na rin po na.
Kaya na ka.
Pero ako nag-click sa website tapos kami na
Pwede ang website. Kaya naghanap na appeal from is kopya ang nasa artikas. So ngayon dili ka magsugod. Mayo nga kuan kani medium nga kuan niya. Kani.
Oh sir, like message me Spiho.
So kung unsa ang iyahang
Kuha na kani
Kani.
masuta. Dili ka man kuan.
So kani sir, na sir.
Walhon ka dito.
To sir.
Sige.
Oh.
sayop bar. There.
Nice, there. My introduction to sculpture.
Sige kay makahurot na bar, pagka ng bar. Pas man kay siya. Na medium high.
Ay, so-
Sugay na kayo ito. Mga sa kabunal. Pero kay king na ni mga na. Gawas man, kabunal ni niya.
Kanang inana nga hapak pang detalye na sir.
Detalye ni sir.
Inato nga pagka bunal.
Oh.
Pang detalye na to nga stage.
Aron dili nakakinang kay di man gid ka mo liha bay. Kay
Pero-
lihaan nimo mo dako kayong trabaho. Kay magsugod ka ni kag
Bitaw.
liha, di ba? Magsugod kag 60 and then manaog ka og 120, maabot kag 240. Aron mo balik siya og sinaw, naana ka sa mga kuan bike kanang nya tanawa sa ka shoot o hinang sinaw naman da. Sinaw na daan, aron din na ka magliha.
It's nice also, sir, na walay liha kay you can see the texture.
Ang strokes po.
So unsay ideal nga gidak-on nga imong i-chip off nga depende sa imong kakusgon sa haba.
Depende kay dako kay mong gitrabaho ba, kani mo.
Ari po kas dagko nga mga chisel.
Sa dagko kaya ang dili madugay.
Like inani
Unya
oh.
sobra ka dako ina na gamitan na ginakong chainsaw.
Okay.
Pero ganun sa balay sa. O Jesus, nakalimot ko.
Mhm.
Ang most important sus, mga kasukan niya content.
Ah.
Ang most important din mo nga equipment ay carving ba? Kinalang yung kalik. Chef niya wa, moro ka ni. Nakalimot yung kung ni Teda. Mo na yung kina-importante ha. Kanigit,
Okay.
this is the most important thing if you're going to carve. Kaya nga naman, yeah.
You didn't wear it.
Yeah, I know, I forgot. I got nervous.
See your moment.
Yeah, because kani sila what you're doing with this thing is that you're sharpening it until maabot na gid siya pila na lang ka microns ang tip ba. Aron sharp. No, ang problema na makaigo na siya o gahi nga butang bay o split ganyan mo suot yung mata. Okay, so major operation yan, perting mahala.
Oh no.
Unya katong akong mga amigo kato si Ted, mo na ilang ko and they get cases like those na ang utaw mo suot sa interior parts ng mga mata niya lisod kayong kwaon.
It's the most expensive part to insure the artist. Your eyes.
Your eyes. Kay
I heard that in New York.
oh, because you're shifting light. Yeah, kuhaan ginagawa. Because you're
Judgment nimo sa
in fact, when you're carving,
values.
you're carving, you have to make a point na matanaw ka sa layon and then balik ka din. Kaya if you're focused on the near area all the time, you're going to give yourself a headache. And then your sight is going to get blurred. Blurred in your sight literally.
You still have time to learn the piano?
Huh?
You still have time to learn?
Now I have time to learn the piano.
I remember. You said that sa tapos Bisaya to.
So you always have to work within those sizes, you know.
Napangkuot na siya sa mga fine
Sir Max, wala na ka
intricate.
nagamit at ito ano kasi mo aning gagmay nga details.
So gimalit gyapon na gyapon.
Pero na uban nga dili na nako gamitan ng mallet, dapat pagpaingon ng tiwas, kamonto na lang napapa. Kay naman sa disadvantage ang mallet, kaya naman sa mga strokes yun nga yung ano ba slide.
Nasa kamkamot na lang din slide.
Ano sila?
Slide na. That's why.
Kanang hair dryer. Kunya i-brush lang mo ato sa.
Aron mo
Even
even
basta itong tingtugnaw dire murag batog siya. Ang shiny.
Ang wax.
Ang wax batog siya. Dili ka shiny. Dili kay shiny pero nindot mo sad nga dili kay shiny bay kay kanang suka kasinaw ning pag-hook. Kanang suka kasinaw ning pag-hook.
plastic ni siya. Mura sa ko na mga sa mga furniture.
Anya may man kay non-toxic anya.
Oo.
Anya natural product ba? Anya produce pa gyud sa Cebu kay di ba matabi in 16th century Philippines may atong main export to China was beeswax.
Nay,
Ani.
murag katong
Beeswax, yun.
galleon sir nga nakita sa
Oh.
shuttle ba to sa North America.
Nga gikan to
Gikan
Philippines.
Cebu.
Gikan Cebu.
Beeswax ang kanda.
Ang daghan kay nagkuan mga
Di ay?
beeswax.
Wow.
May main product ba?
Mo nag-stick ko sa kuando taw sa
Mahal siya.
Mount Fuji. Say.
Feel of wax.
So kuhan eh, sir, there's a random thought here about Japan.
Ano siguro?
But the 60s, you don't want to go abroad.
Mga
It's like,
areas
you
bitaw
didn't
nga
wanna go
kuan.
to CBGBs and see the punk bands.
Madlo kung breakup niya kasi tanong ko ba unsa ni
Sigtanon po ko dyan. Oh.
sa effect ba nga sige
Gigamit na ko nga gitrapo.
Ito na binay.
I-feel mo ang kakoy niya, istorya nito.
Yeah.
ang single
In fact, I went to the US. I went to the Met, and then I went to MoMA, and I saw.
So Trina's there.
In New York?
Trina,
Is that
Donna.
right? Ah.
And then when he went to New York, I was there. We got to see. That's when I went to see with Trina.
Magkabuang mansan, magsige kag bait.
Yeah.
Kana ka nang malimpyo.
Sir, for marble, sir ba? What the...
Kuan kanang they have something called emery stone. Kanang because kanang sandpaper is called emery cloth. So there's minerals na ini-grind nimo mahimo siya mga hait kay mga butang, and that's what they used to rub into the marble. Because ang marble is done differently from wood. Kay marble, you start with a round chisel. When you ini-cut nimo, mahimo produce siya og crater. So in fact si Michelangelo, he did the beginnings of the sculpture by himself. When he did the craters, he did the kanang second kanang mga negative spaces. Kunya pa koman, they use a claw chisel which has teeth. Kunya i-grind nimo, i-cut nimo sideways, so mag-produce siya. So muna nga ang semi-cut, maging na ay mga rays. Kunya after that, na siya yung mga kaupan, yung mga apprentice, na sila yung mga sinam.
Do the polishing.
Do the polishing. In fact, yun lang maay kay si Michelangelo apprentice, kay sila may mo-produce sa mga kanang veins.
Bito.
Sila may mo-bumutang
So he's not the one work on the veins?
No,
Not
yeah,
the finishing.
si Michelangelo does the first part of the carving, which made him really good at
Proportion.
kaya dagan siya at finished works. Makita pa rin mo yung makita
So
niyo
he sets the template.
Huh?
He sets the template.
Yeah, and then he sets the design. And but his apprentices are also good enough that they know what to do.
Bito.
And then he might make a correction here and there.
Even the tiniest
We just don't know their names. The
We
lost
don't.
apprentices.
Yeah, we don't. That's a sad thing. But some of the apprentices of famous painters, they also became well known themselves. Kaya ka ng mga shops ng good sa una, they were employees. That means they derived an allowance from the Medici. If you were an apprentice of Michelangelo, you derived an allowance from the Medici. If you helped in the Sistine Chapel, so the Pope is paying your allowance. So they lived comfortably. But it was also hard work.
The fact I liked about that time, the Pope used to go to war.
Oh yeah,
Because it's,
he was threatening war all the time.
yeah, because like Pinoys were very tribal. So Italy, each region has their own.
And also ang economics niya kay the Catholic Church at that time, they did not allow themselves to have banks. Pero si Lorenzo de Medici, he was Florence. So he did the banks. He kept the money and he loaned money for the crusades. And then they could what's more, they could move the gold from one place to another by doing it this way. So in the road to Jerusalem, there are places where they have gold. So Medici goes, the Pope is borrowing this much gold from me. So you release the gold to his generals while they go on their way to recapture the Holy Land, diba? And so you have you have institutions like what was that? Ganing mga koan, the Knights of Templar Knights, Knight Templars. They principally were couriers for money. Well, that relationship to the Medici is kind of not recorded because obviously for obvious reasons, because the Templars eventually would be kind of brought down by the Pope. Diba? Kaya lisod mo kaya, those times were not easy times. Si Leonardo da Vinci bitaw, he was basically a canon designer.
Yeah.
No, he was a canon designer for
Mga warfare.
people.
No, si Da Vinci.
Design of
Designer for
Canyon.
Canyon.
Design sa
Mga,
to siya mga corner sa mga
that's why mga nay mga wala ma-materialize nga mga kanang mga tangke de guerra o mga helicopter nga early design.
Diba ang
Mga warfare.
sa propeller
Kana
diba siya mo ginag-design
siya rin mga early design mga drawings.
sa to siya shape nga circular.
Excuse ako.
Wala lay fun. Wala lay fun ato nga time so di.
niya ba?
Oo.
Grabe ka futuristic.
Sige,
Ikaw,
play
sir.
for us. What's your question? I can answer. Play.
Dili ko ay dili sa. Ko rin bago nga apprentice ni sir.
Ikaw na tong mga assistant ni Michelangelo.
Utangan na ni niya daan ng mga markers. Yan, putdo ni nato ba imong toothpick. Bagong apprentice ni Sir Mons mga higala. So kung ana sir, dili siya maayo. So dapat kanunay nag-ana.
Anak siya.
Kung masay ni mabilin, di ba na mabilin pero ana na mabilin, pwede na ni bakton.
Or side base. Side base.